8-year assault on your Second Amendment freedoms has come to a crashing end. I like taking the guns early. Take the guns first, go through due process second.
Well, I say go fuck yourself. Then ask a question, could I kill a man? I would enjoy myself. You can't disguise evil eyes that burn over my head. This devil man and his master plan, we feel so misled, so I say, rise up, take all back, rise up, take it all back, rise up. Hope you all understand. We got to take it all back again.
These people are not going to take it any longer. We will never give up. We will never concede. Our country has had enough. We will not take it anymore. But you have to go home now. We have to have peace. So go home. We love you. You're very special. But go home and go home in peace. The demonstrators who infiltrated the Capitol have defiled the seat of American democracy. You do not represent our country. And to those who broke the law, you will pay.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. Thursday. It's a Thursday. That means tomorrow's Friday. Who's all here is excited? I know I am. I'm ready for the weekend. All right. I had a couple news stories come in from Riddle that I'm going to put in my queue. They all want me to turn off my ad blocker. So there's that. However, I just need to get that set up. All right, cool. Nothing really special today. Just went out, worked out again, which I'm glad that we've been doing it pretty much every day since that we got the membership. So I'm pretty happy about that, even though there's been a couple times already that I was like, I don't really feel like it. And one time I was like, I don't want to go. I just don't want to do it. I want to stay at home and chillax. And then I started thinking about it. I'm like, I can't do that. That's what got me in trouble in the first place. I got to get active. So we did. We got active. Other than that, that's pretty much it. So some of the news stories that I usually get, I get from like Headline News USA. and YouTube. Well, you know how they have when you go to the homepage of YouTube, they have some recommended ones, usually something close to what you've been watching lately, and then they also have the certified news organizations. Well, one from Forbes piqued my interest, and that's what we're talking about tonight. What's up, Gerald? How you doing? Thank you for being here. I do appreciate it. Don't forget to leave a like if you like this kind of content. Share it with all your friends if you really love it. And if you're not already subscribed, I mean, what are you doing with your life? It's free. Absolutely free. We also have all the links to all the other social medias, including Discord, in the descriptions below. We'll get to that at the end of the video as well. All right, I want to probably watch this entire video in full. It's 13 minutes, so it's a chunk of change. I mean, I've already watched it, but I'm flabbergasted by it. I live in Phoenix. Luckily haven't had to deal with the police. Some of the things they talk about in here are legitimate issues if that's what's going on. I haven't heard that that's what's going on, but I can't help but think that this might be some sort of retaliation on Arizona for their audit. They don't mention it at all, but at the same time, it seems awful well timed. Let's just put it that way. All right, let's do it.
Good afternoon. I'm joined here today by Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights, Kristen Clark. Today, we are announcing that the Justice Department is opening an investigation into the City of Phoenix and the Phoenix Police Department. The investigation will determine whether the Phoenix Police Department engages in a pattern or practice of violations of the Constitution or federal law. This is the third pattern or practice investigation I have announced as Attorney General. Each time, I have noted that these investigations aim to promote transparency
I wonder what
and
the
accountability.
first two were.
This increases public trust, which in turn increases public safety. We know that law enforcement shares these goals. The Justice Department has briefed Phoenix Mayor Kate Gallego and Police Chief Jerry Williams about the investigation. We are pleased by their pledge of support. They too recognize that we share common aims. Our investigation in Phoenix will be led by the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division. It is based on the division's extensive review of publicly available information, and it will consider several issues. First, whether the Phoenix Police Department uses excessive force in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Second, whether the Phoenix Police Department engages in discriminatory policing practices that violate the Constitution and federal law. Third, whether the department violates the First Amendment by retaliating against individuals who are engaged in protected expressive activities. Fourth,
whether that one right there, the
department violates the First Amendment by retaliating against individuals who are engaged in protected expressive activities.
I'm guessing that has something to do with BLM.
Fourth,
I rained here today, so I wiped the dust off my 7mm mag and then my 308. Sweet. Later, when I clean the dust off my 30-06 and the shotgun. Damn, that's cool. I don't have much dust on mine. I fondle them too much, but I don't have a shit ton of a collection either. I wish I did. I'm working on it, actually. I'm looking at getting a pocket carry gun. That is something that I did today that I didn't talk about. I've, been wanting to get something I can just throw in my pocket in some shorts, because I usually wear, athletic gear in order to go work out. And I can't really strap a 45 to it, very easily. So, although it does, I can put the Dan Wesson in the pocket, and it does, I have to tighten the drawstrings a little bit, but it's not too bad. Anyway, I've been looking at these pocket carry guns, and I can't help but really love the Kimber Micro 9s. Those things are amazing. Anyway, yeah, I think it's BLM he's referencing the First Amendment issue with, but we'll continue.
Whether the city and its police department respond to people with disabilities in a manner that violates the Americans with Disabilities Act. This includes whether decisions to criminally detain individuals with behavioral health disabilities are proper. And fifth, whether the Phoenix Police Department violates the rights of individuals experiencing homelessness by seizing and disposing of their belongings in a manner that violates the Constitution.
If that's the case, that's kind of bullshit. You taking their stuff, and I have a neighbor who does this shit, and I do not like that. If you take their shit, that's not going to do anything for them to get a home. It might make them not come back around your area. That's why I think, my neighbor does it. He wants to make sure that they get the word out. Don't go and leave your shit near his house. He'll take it and dispose of it. But as far as the Phoenix police stealing their stuff and throwing it away, how does that help anything if that's the case? And I don't know, because first I've been hearing of it.
Those last two areas of investigative focus speak to an important issue that is broader than the Phoenix investigation. Our society is straining the policing profession by turning to law enforcement to address a wide array of social problems. Too often, we ask law enforcement officers to be the first and last option for addressing issues that should not be handled by our criminal justice system. This makes police officers' jobs more difficult, increases unnecessary confrontations with law enforcement, and hinders public safety. This past week, there has been much attention to the impending risk of mass evictions, which would put millions of tenants at risk of losing shelter. Needless to say, the impact on individuals and families would be devastating, and as the CDC has made clear, the impact on public health would likewise be devastating, fueling the spread of COVID-19 infections in the affected communities. Associate Attorney General Vanita Gupta is leading a Justice Department effort with state court leaders on this problem. On June 24th, she sent a letter to state courts urging them to implement eviction diversion strategies that will increase the chances that families can stay in their homes. Mass evictions would also have serious implications for law enforcement, adding to a crisis of homelessness that strains but cannot be solved by the criminal justice system.
He ain't lying about that. I mean, unfortunately, they put themselves in that position, right? You turned off everybody's ability to make a living, to pay your bills, and then you gave them an incentive not to go back to work, right? By giving them all this free money, which stupid people are stupid. And I'm a stupid people, and I understand how stupid people work because I know what I would have been doing back in the day, honey. We would have been living rich at Rent-A-Center. Every damn month I would have been buying a new ottoman or a freaking coffee table, another big screen TV. Well, this one's got 5 extra inches. That's exactly what I would be doing with money that I shouldn't be doing that with, because I'd be like, well, they can't evict us because, COVID.
The ramifications do not end there. Far too often, police officers are the first ones called when someone is experiencing a mental health crisis in any setting.
If you want a job, you can get a job.
But it is almost certain that police will be called to respond to someone experiencing a mental health crisis if that person is also without housing. And as we have repeatedly seen, the risks...
Here's the thing. How do you help the homeless? I don't think you take their shit. I've tried to help the homeless, by more than just giving money. By clothing, by bathroom stuff, by getting them something to eat, by getting them haircuts, by doing a whole bunch of shit, right? Trying to do that. The one thing that I have noticed from my interactions with them, at least all the ones that I have dealt with, and I haven't dealt with a lot, I've dealt with a few, they have no reason nor no intention to not be homeless. They don't want to not be homeless. They just want your help with your money. Now, as I said, there's probably, there's always exceptions to that rule, but those are the interactions that I have had. And there are programs out there that if they want to, pick themselves up by their bootstraps and get a job and get a house again, there are programs that will help them do that. Shit, our Job Corps, our We have Job Corps for those that are younger, and then Goodwill. I don't know about Goodwills around you guys because I don't go to Goodwills anywhere but Arizona. But here in Goodwill, they have a job center that helps you look for employment. And I'm sure there's places that'll give you an address so that you can get that job or get that training. All right, let me catch up. LE has zero jurisdiction over civil matters. Their only enumerated duty is to keep the peace in such incidents. Full stop. Good evening. What's up, Mike? How you doing? I don't pretend to know all the things that they're legally allowed to do and legally not allowed to do. Thing is now that they owe all that back rent. Yeah, I mean, and that's, I'm not trying to take away from their responsibilities, right? Like if I was in that, as I said, if I was in that situation and I was spending all that money, when the time came, I could understand like, damn, I should have done something more than that. Right? Maybe I should have been putting some money back, at least for a down payment on a new apartment, you know? Just in case. Just in case. And if you're one of those people, and I don't have a lot of people watching, but if somebody later on watches this and you're one of those people that might be affected by if they, cancel the eviction moratorium, then start putting some of this money that you're getting anywhere, whether it be a side hustle or what, and start putting it towards at least a down payment on another house. Shit, I was watching a Guns Coast to Coast. Sorry, I was watching Guns Coast to Coast. He was talking about this. Oh shit, he made some good points too, and I forget it now. There shouldn't be homelessness. The state of Rhode Island gives $13,000 to homeless. Yeah, I know. I'm aware of that. I mean, if you're giving straight up money, and I've done it a few times where I just gave out straight out money. One time there was a guy with a dog, and I was like, get that dog some dog food, just in case. It didn't look like it was malnourished or anything, but you put an animal there, and they know that. You put an animal there, and it's just going to make me feels. Say your rent was $1,000 a month. It's been 18 months now. Yeah, as I said, if you're that far behind, cut your losses. And this is the thing. This is stuff that I have done in my personal life. When you know that it's insurmountable like that, $18,000. If you have to get $18,000 or $2,000, right? Get your $2,000. Get that $2,000 and go find another apartment before you get evicted. And start over. Yeah. Landlords have bills too, to the banks. And I don't believe landlords are getting as much of a break as the people living in those homes. And here I am wanting to own property, but if I do, I'm going to have to make sure that I don't get involved in this kind of shit, because that's some bullshit. All right.
To everyone involved, if that person is also without housing. And as we have repeatedly seen,
what I was saying is Guns Coast to Coast was talking about how people that are in this housing moratorium thing or whatever just decide not to work because, they get paid to stay at home. So he touched on this topic. And one thing that I was thinking while watching that video was that maybe they have a side hustle. If you're getting paid to stay at home, I don't know how many people did this, but how great would it be to use some of that money, get yourself a pressure washer or whatever, do a side hustle that's tax-free. Meanwhile, you're getting paid for sitting on your ass. Well, you're not sitting on your ass, but you're also getting that paycheck too. Yeah, property is the best. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get into, but it's going to take a little bit of saving and a little bit of getting our credit in order and stuff like that. Because as I said, I have lived that life. I have lived that life where I have gotten, either tax return. I was on food stamps at one point. We were on assistance. I had Section 8 housing when we lived in Wisconsin. So I've been there. And every time you get a little bit of that free money, because Bush did it too. Remember the stimmy checks under Bush? Oh man, I love those stimmy checks under Bush. Give me some more stimmy money. Freaking love that back then.
Risks to everyone involved
And
in
I didn't do
such
nothing good with it.
interactions are enormous. These issues must be addressed if we are to ease the burdens that our society places
track
on law
what?
enforcement.
They track what? Side hustles? How do they track side hustles? We got to get through this video.
Involved in such interactions are enormous. These issues must be addressed if we are to ease the burdens that our society places on law enforcement and ensure the safety of our communities. The Justice Department, through grant making, technical assistance, and training, supports law enforcement and community-based programs to tackle these challenges. I will now turn the podium over to Assistant Attorney General Clark, who will talk more about our pattern or practice investigation.
Oh, do you mean?
Thank you,
Maybe.
Mr. Attorney General. Protecting the rule of law demands that those who enforce our laws also abide by them.
So it smells.
Ensuring
It
that law
smells so
enforcement
much of
acts in a
revenge
lawful
on Arizona
and
for the
accountable
audit.
manner is a priority for the Civil Rights Division. As the Attorney General has just announced, following an extensive review of publicly available information regarding the Phoenix Police Department, today we are opening a civil pattern or practice investigation into the city of Phoenix and the Phoenix Police Department. We have reviewed court files, media reports, citizen complaints, and we also considered factors that we ordinarily weigh in determining whether to open an investigation, including the nature and seriousness of the allegations, the number of allegations, the steps that a department may be taking to address the
Have you guys
allegations,
heard
and the
anything about the
history
Phoenix
of the
Police
department.
Department up until today?
We found that the evidence here warrants a full
obviously this channel
investigation,
talks
but
about
we
them a little
approach
bit,
this
but
process with no predispositions
I haven't
or
heard nothing
pre-drawn
about this.
conclusions. Our pattern or practice investigations have been successful at identifying not only
Seems like
whether
it.
systemic misconduct is occurring, but also its root causes, so that those root causes can ultimately be fixed. As part of our investigation in Phoenix, we will meet with officers and command staff, as well as members of the broader Phoenix community. We will review incident reports, body-worn camera footage, and other data and documentation collected by the department. We will also review the
Well, I mean, Riddle, I know the Phoenix Police Department do some evil shit. I mean, they're a police department. I name one police department that doesn't have some kind of iffy situation that happened that it could be called either way. And I'm not saying all cops are bad. I know I've said that in the past, and I still kind of feel like that. I mean, it's kind of a gang, right? You got to play by their rules, and they don't even have to know their rules in order to play the game, and you do. And even if you know, then you're belligerent, and then you get another charge, and then now they're trying to make it so that if you're, I forget, is this a national law? I think it might be a national law, or maybe it was Biden actually doing it by executive order. But did we not cover a story recently where they're going to give police more protection against, you can't assault them verbally and shit like that? Fuck, I forget.
department's policies, training materials, and supervision records, as well as
For me, Chowder Pouch, I love this shit. Some people aren't that smart. I'm guessing as a side hustle. I understand that. A lot of people do a side hustle with illegal, stuff that you can sell and snort. So there's a lot of that, especially around me, because we live in the ghetto. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that already had side hustles going on anyway. So now if they were working at, the local freaking church's chicken or whatever, and they got let go because it's not essential. Now they're getting their unemployment, which here in Arizona, I believe, is the same no matter what job you had, which kind of blows because Riddle Girl got paid a lot of money at her last job and got the same unemployment as somebody working at a Taco Bell. Right? So they working at their church's chicken job, selling drugs on the side. Now they don't have to work at churches, but they get that check and they're still getting paid for doing the other thing, and they can devote more time to it. Shit, they might even make a YouTube reaction channel, for all I know. An in-home safe. Yeah, what I would personally, and I don't do this because I'm not the kind of person I try not to take, but if I was to do something like that, I'd be going and converting that shit into silver and gold. Put that in my home safe. That's a good investment. And if nothing else, it's a great way to like, well, just get a whole bunch of silver and gold. You know, some lost uncle sometime. I dug that shit out of my backyard. I don't know. Maybe that's wrong. I need to get a safe safe. You know what I mean? 98% of the cops aren't worth a darn. Says Gerald B. I don't know. I don't know what the percentage is versus it's not. I have my opinions, but so does everybody else. All right.
Documents related to systems of accountability, including how complaints are investigated and how discipline is imposed. As you know, about 3 months ago, we launched similar investigations into the city of Minneapolis and the Minneapolis Police Department, as well as the city of Louisville and the Louisville Police Department.
I wonder if they're going to also search
as
for
in Phoenix,
stuff like
we've
this
been
in
fortunate
Georgia.
to have the support of
Atlanta.
city officials and police chiefs. In that short time, Justice Department lawyers have had in-person and virtual meetings with close to 1,000 community stakeholders in Minneapolis and Louisville. Hundreds more have submitted messages to the Justice Department. Department lawyers have participated in over 50 ride-alongs with officers. We have had 4 meetings with full command staff and spoken to officers across both individual interviews and roll call briefings. We will take the same approach in Phoenix. Our career attorneys have decades of experience working on investigations like the one we open here today. One thing we have
Why
learned
make it
over the
public like
decades
this?
is that we must and
Why
will
is it
work
like-
collaboratively with the Phoenix
press
community
conference?
and with the Phoenix Police Department.
This is why it
If we
stinks.
conclude that there are no systemic violations of constitutional or federal statutory rights by the city or Phoenix Police Department, we will make that known. If, on the other hand, we conclude that there is reasonable cause to believe that such violations are occurring, we will issue a report describing our findings and then aim to work cooperatively with the city to reach agreement on the best remedies. If an appropriate remedy cannot be achieved through agreement, the Attorney General is authorized to bring litigation to secure an appropriate injunctive remedy.
Litigation.
This morning, our team had the opportunity to speak with city officials about our investigation. We are pleased that Mayor Gallego and Chief Williams have pledged their full support. I will repeat the same message our team conveyed to city officials and city leaders this morning. We're committed to following the facts where they lead and doing so in a timely manner so that we can expeditiously address any pattern or practice of unlawful conduct that may be identified. We look forward to working together with the city and the Phoenix Police Department
sure they
toward
do.
the shared goals of ensuring constitutional policing and fostering greater cooperation between law enforcement officers and the community members that they serve.
Turn your backyard into a mini campground. I got a fire pit and even cook hot dogs. We'll do a hot dog.
A.G. Garland, was there a final straw in Phoenix?
I'm going to leave that question
Yeah.
because it's specifically
The
about the
audit.
Phoenix investigation to the Assistant Attorney General.
I think it was the audit, sir.
Our investigation looked into a number of issues. What we're planning to roll up our sleeves and look at closely is whether or not the Phoenix Police Department uses force unconstitutionally, including deadly force.
Did it with Ryan
Whether
Whitaker.
the department engages in discriminatory
That's not gonna make the front
policing,
page, though.
whether the department engages in retaliatory conduct by making arrest or using force against individuals engaged in peaceful, expressive activities. We're going to look at whether the city and the police department discriminate against people with disabilities in violation of the ADA.
Wonder what that's
We're going to look at the department and whether they violate the
Broken
rights
Patriot, you know
people
anything about
experiencing
the Phoenix
homelessness
PD
by
doing something
unlawfully
against
seizing or
people who are
disposing
handicapped?
of personal property during cleanings or sweeps of encampments. And we're all
As I said before, when she mentioned this before, I disagree with that. Clearing out all their shit, throwing it all away, does not help them one bit or another. Right? They'd probably rather go to jail because then they get 3 hots in a cot, right? But maybe they can't get their drugs as easy. Who knows? I don't know, but it's definitely not the way to help anything. It's just gonna, I don't know. I really hate seeing homeless camps here in Phoenix. I absolutely hate it. I grew up in Arizona and spent most of my life in Phoenix. My childhood mostly up north in Chino Valley, just north of Prescott. But for the majority of my life, I have lived really near Phoenix, whether in Phoenix itself, Mesa, Tempe, places like that. But majority of my life has been here. I have never seen it like this. When you go down a canal and you see Tent City, under an underpass, a whole bunch of tents. There was a old junkyard. I think it was a junkyard. It might be wrong. It's like a vacant lot near the Capitol in Arizona. When it's all homeless. Crazy. Profound and very true statement here, says Bikes, referring to Riddle, saying, like, seriously, the best place for anyone who wants freedom will be to completely go off grid. That'll be very difficult for me due to many things. Not really. It would be very difficult for us. It will be difficult for us because no matter what you do, you're going to be on there somehow, right? You have to buy the land or you squat on it. We have a story that Riddle Girl suggested us reading that's about a guy who squatted on a piece of land that's now been kicked off, I guess. But really, there's no way to be 100% like, I don't even exist anymore kind of thing, I don't think. Maybe there is. Homeless is pretty close. You just have to camp all the time. But I mean, if you're wanting to work the land and do all that, it's got to be more than just camping. Who knows? I would like to think that it's still possible, though, especially if they find a cure for PH. That'd be amazing. 2 weeks from this Saturday, I have to take a trip to VT. I'm guessing VT? Vermont? Yeah, Vermont, right? You have to take a trip to Vermont to pick up a camper we're buying. What's up? What's up, Trance? How you doing? This lady and that idiot AG are mocking people as they read their script for ears to hear. The mixing of words being spewed. They tried to Tent City here. They just put them in hotels. Tent City under Sheriff Opio, Arpaio. I met the man. Shook his hand and everything. Voted for him. I remember voting for him when I was a kid, too. That dude is somebody I never want to have to see on the other side. I was glad to see him at the gun show, and I signed his petition to be reelected and all that stuff, and it was great. But at the same time, I'm like, dude, I don't ever want to cross you. Tent City was a nightmare. It's 115 degrees out here, and they have these old army tents set up. Then they give you the green bologna and the pink underwear, which is, it is what it is. But I mean, you're outside all day long with just a tent over you, if you're talking about that tent city. Other tent cities with homeless people, I don't know. I don't know how they do that. What's up, Quantum Lotus? How you doing? Off-grid, find a plot that's unincorporated with running water, park camper, and build pole barn. Me and Riddle, I was talking about this, remember? We went down a dirt road. I forget exactly where it was, but we were going down there. And I'm like, man, can you imagine having a camper and just like moving to one spot for a while, and then when they kick you off of that spot, you just move to a different spot? How great would that be? Yeah, and build pool barn to park under it. Run solar and hydro for the power. Y'all have a donor box? I do. You check the links down below. We have the alternative super chat. That's going to flash your message up here on the screen with the amount that you sent. There's other links down there as well if you're interested in that. All right, let's finish it off.
Also going to look at the department's policies and training, as well as how they investigate and hold officers accountable for misconduct, as failures of these systems may contribute to violations of federal law.
They're going to make any state that's contesting the event in November any which way as racist state and have to be
wonder if you could speak as to some of the legal issues you're looking at there, Fourth Amendment and the like, and also whether this is intended to send a message to other law enforcement entities which routinely sweep across the country and cities across the country the belongings of the homeless.
And I didn't know that either. Apparently, other cities are doing that same shit
our
with the property of the homeless.
Includes the
Most of
Violent
that
Crime
property probably
Control and Law
stolen.
Enforcement Act of 1994. Whether those sweeps, unlawfully seizing and disposing the belongings of persons experiencing homelessness, may indeed trigger a violation of the 4th and 14th Amendments. And so that is another basis for the investigation that we are launching today.
Mr. Attorney General, you mentioned the eviction crisis and
There we
the
go.
dangers posed by mass evictions. Can you tell us, in light
This is what I
of
want you to
what's
hear.
gone on in the last day or two, were you or the Justice Department consulted about the administration's reversal in policy on the eviction ban? And are you confident that you'll be able to get it through the Supreme Court?
As I said, the effects of mass evictions would be devastating, both on individuals and, as the CDC has said, on communities because of the risk of spread of COVID. The department has vigorously defended the statutory authority of
The statutory authority of the CDC. Let's listen to that again.
the statutory authority of the CDC, and we will continue to.
Oh,
There was a
anything.
filing last night by plaintiffs in that case. We will be making our own filings, and as is appropriate, we will respond in our filings to those kinds of questions. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
And that leads us to this. We're not going to watch the whole video, but
On New Year's Day of this year, Rochelle Walensky was just a college professor in Massachusetts. You almost certainly never heard of her. You definitely didn't vote for her at any point because Walensky had never run for office. As of January 1st, her political power was precisely the same as yours and everyone else's in this supposedly self-governing republic. Rochelle Walensky had one vote out of a nation of 320 million people. And then, just a few weeks later, everything changed for her and for the rest of us. Joe Biden appointed Walensky to run the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention in Atlanta. At the time, it did not seem like a huge deal. The CDC is not a legislative body. It's a public health bureau. It was originally designed to fight malaria, and it did a good job. The CDC now gathers information about diseases and then releases guidance about those diseases to the public. That's what it does. The CDC does not make laws in this country. It's not allowed to. Under the U.S. Constitution, making laws is the exclusive role of the Congress. You vote for your senators and your congressmen, and they decide what the rules are. That's known as representative democracy. It's been our system for nearly 250 years. But apparently, it's now over. Rochelle Walensky now makes our laws. Walensky announced today that she has decided to nationalize America's rental properties, millions and millions of them from Maine to California. Tenants are no longer required to pay their rent. Property owners cannot evict them under any circumstances. Making someone pay to live on your property is now a federal crime. Try it and you can wind up in prison with hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines. At the same time, you should know, property owners will still be required to pay the banks that hold their mortgages. There is no moratorium on mortgages. Why? The banks are huge Democratic donors, and they're getting the treatment that they paid for.
only renters, not people who own their own house and have to pay a mortgage. That's interesting. Why not people that hold a mortgage? I mean, he explains it here, but still.
Their mortgages. There is no moratorium on mortgages. Why? The banks are huge Democratic donors, and they're getting the treatment that they paid for. Sandy Cortez and the squad are not calling for the banks to do their part, so they're not. It's property owners who will suffer, many of them members of the rapidly disappearing American middle class. It's hard to overstate what a momentous change this is. It means, among other things, that private property no longer exists in the United States. You thought you owned your home. Not anymore. Rochelle Walensky does. She'll decide who can live there, under what circumstances, and for how long. Is this a good idea? Of course not. It's totalitarian. But there's an even more pressing question at the center of this, a principle that defines what kind of country this is and what kind of country it will be going forward. And the question is this: Where did Rochelle Walensky get the power to do this, to suspend private property rights in America? And the answer is she simply asserted the power. Walensky claims she had the authority and no one stopped her from exercising it. This morning she signed an official-looking order declaring that her opinion is now the law, and so it is the law. But wait, you say, that doesn't seem very American. Shouldn't somebody vote on this? If we're going to continue to pretend this is a democracy, and you hear that on television constantly, then shouldn't our elected lawmakers make the laws? No, and they're not going to. Nancy Pelosi has refused to call a vote on the matter, and she runs the Congress. She decides. Meanwhile, most Republicans haven't said a word about it. And that means that an unelected college professor you've never heard of 6 months ago is now in charge of your country. If you're wondering how all of this can possibly be legal, rest assured that it's not legal. It's not even arguably legal. We know that for a fact. The Supreme Court has just ruled on this specific question. The court found that the CDC does not have the right to institute a nationwide eviction moratorium. Period. Only Congress can do that. Now, the court didn't make us guess on their view of this. The court put this in writing in the clearest possible language. There's no debate about that. The Biden administration just ignored what the court said. How can they do that? Well, Congresswoman Maxine Waters of Los Angeles understands exactly how they did it.
No power.
Waters is hardly a genius. It's likely she's never read an entire book. But
comply.
one thing Maxine Waters knows very well is how third world regimes operate. When you want something, you simply take it. You've got the guns. Who's going to stop you? Might makes right, the Fidel Castro method. Waters explained that out loud today as she pushed Rochelle Walensky to suspend private property. Quote, I don't buy that the CDC can't extend the eviction moratorium, Waters wrote on Twitter, perfectly aware as she did that the Supreme Court has already prohibited this. Who's going to stop them? Who's going to penalize them? Well, good question. Nobody. And Nancy Pelosi knows that, too. Pelosi knows that what Rochelle Walensky just did is illegal by definition. She also understands that openly ignoring a Supreme Court ruling will mean the end of our current system. And that's fine with Nancy Pelosi. Quote, the CDC has the power to extend the eviction moratorium, Pelosi said. Pelosi didn't explain where that power might come from. She simply declared that it exists, as dictators do. Keep in mind that even Joe Biden, who knows very little, knows that what his administration has just done is against the law. He said that on camera yesterday.
I've sought out constitutional scholars to determine what is the best possibility that would come from executive action or the CDC's judgment. What could they do that was most likely to pass muster constitutionally? The bulk of the constitutional scholarship says that it's not likely to pass constitutional muster, number one. But there are several key scholars who think that it may, and it's worth the effort.
So the eviction moratorium has been in place for months. It has just been extended as of today. So people have debated this, jurists have weighed in on it, and so we know it won't, quote, pass constitutional muster, says Joe Biden. In other words, it's illegal. The people doing it are criminals. That's the word we use for people who knowingly break the law. But like most criminals, they're not embarrassed by breaking the law. That's what they do. Watch Joe Biden's senior advisor, a thoroughly oily character called Gene Sperling, tell you that the rule of law just isn't relevant here.
To date, the CDC director and her team have been unable to find legal authority even for a more targeted eviction moratorium that would focus just on counties with higher rates of COVID spread. This is a president who really understands the heartbreak of eviction.
I'm sure he got evicted.
The reason why he is pressing and pressing, even when legal authority looks slim, is because he wants to make sure we have explored every potential authority.
These people are so filthy, but they're self-righteous. Did you catch that? We don't have the legal authority to do what we're doing, but we're doing it anyway. Because who's going to stop us? Republicans? Mitch McConnell, please. Mark Milley doesn't report to Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell doesn't control the FBI or the intelligence agencies. Mitch McConnell is unarmed. What's he going to do about it? Give a grumpy speech and drive back to his condo? That's what they're saying. That's what criminals always say when they shake you down at gunpoint. And make no mistake, that's exactly what they're doing, because that's exactly who they are. Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe.
Oh, my goodness. All right, so I wanted to play that a little bit after that last one. I know that's 2 videos. No more videos tonight, unless it's on one of the news things. But let me catch up on chat, because I know you're all talking a lot. Heck, up here, the state has campsites all over. You can stay at each campground for up to, but no longer than 14 days at a time. Is that free, though? Statutory authority equals power to legislate/create policy. Yeah, they don't have it, but even the Supreme Court don't. Even the Supreme Court agreed they didn't have it, but nobody gives a shit. They're just going to do it anyway. Wow. Because nobody wants to be the adult in the room and say, hey, at some point, we got to end this shit. Nobody's saying that. We can talk, during this next amount of time for this prolonged moratorium, let's start talking about how we get people off of this damn thing. How about we talk about the eventual end of it? That'd be actually doing your job. But they don't charge on Moosehead Lake. They have about 5 different sites in that area. They have about 5 others, not on the lake. Very important what Tucker just stated. That means case law is unconstitutional. Think hard. Hell yeah. Best thing about those sites is they don't charge to stay. Wow, that is cool. I didn't know that. It's a great point. You don't own the property if the government has any say over it. And you haven't owned any property since, the 1800s when they implemented property tax? I forget exactly when that was. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. Of course they are. They just had a Brit tell me how stupid Americans are. I laughed at him and, sure, buddy, why more Brits are trying to leave Britain? I only know a few British people. I haven't heard anything of them trying to leave it, but I know a few of them are pretty upset about the overtly draconian sniffle laws. If they come live here and experience America and then go back, they miss it. At the points, checks and balances supposed to be in place and not working. There's only a couple ways to fix it now, and none of them are pretty. Yeah, I would agree with that. It's not going to be pretty. I think they're going to have to forgive the debt, or they're going to have to pay the landlords, or something's going to have to happen there. But at some point, you've got to wipe that slate clean. Watch what they do. Watch what they do about this and how they get out of this renters moratorium. Because I have a feeling this is exactly how they're going to try to get out of the debt that we owe. However many $1 trillion it is now, like $30 trillion or some shit. I bet you it's going to be kind of the same. It's going to be a hard reset, like boom. All you landlords, we're going to pay you a lump sum. It's not going to be the same amount, but it's going to be something. You're going to forgive their debt. And then from going on forward, they're going to have to pay their rent or they're going to get evicted. Cool? Cool. Watch. They've always done it. Everyone was asleep. Yep. But they also said they'd buy some time to take it into October. At this point, they're going to be taking it into the midterms. If they don't address it now, and this comes back during the midterms, that could be bad for either side who decides to stand up and say enough's enough. If you're paying rent, you don't get in. If you're paying rent, you don't get edited. Pay your freaking rent. What's up, Bendy Ballsack? How you doing? Love the fucking name, bro. The Constitution was written for the common man to comprehend and interpret. Scholars are not needed. What judges say about it is an opinion and irrelevant. Yeah, no, I get you. That's why the first 10, I think there was, first 10 are very easily understandable and limiting the government's power over the people. It wasn't about giving power. It was about restricting it. So I'm confused. If there's an eviction moratorium in place, why is Arizona and other states still reporting evictions being filed and served? I don't know. People do indeed need to pay their rent. Thanks for the lemon, Irish. Grid down for 3 months solves all of our problems. No internet access for 3 months. We would have the purge. I think they're going to do a phased approach for evictions. They will allow a certain amount of each month so that the homeless problem, yeah, maybe, and criminal problems stay manageable. You got to say forgive the debt like Hooker Gerbs from South Park. Gonna take on jobs. Is that one? I don't even know. I haven't watched a lot of South Park recently. I watched the first like 4 or 5 seasons religiously back in the day, and then I kind of fell off of it. And now I don't really watch TV at all, so I don't really catch it too much. I might have missed that one. All right, lawyer, Capitol cop who shot Ashley Babbitt ambushed her without warning. Well, if he's wearing a video camera, then that should be on file. Kicking off the first hearing of the House Select Committee investigating the U.S. Capitol event, Chairman Bernie Thompson, a Mississippi Democrat, promised to fully investigate the facts of what happened on the 6th, calling it a scene of violence in the citadel of democracy. Ooh. But over the next 3.5 hours, he and other Democrats, along with their hand-picked Republican panelists and police witnesses, never mentioned the most lethal act committed that day. The fatal Capitol Police shooting of an unarmed protester, Ashley Babbitt. It was the only shot fired during the entire event. This omission angered Babbitt's family and a number of Republicans who maintain that the Select Committee and the Capitol Police are covering up the circumstances surrounding her death. Questions linger over the shooting, especially whether the officer who fired the fatal shot warned Babbitt to stop before he opened fire as she attempted to breach the barricaded door inside the Capitol building. The officer's lawyer insists his client not only issued such a command, but did it so loudly and clearly. Wow. Well, then it should be picked up on video. And I'm sure we have video of that. I'm pretty sure I remember seeing that video, and I didn't hear nobody say stop or I'll shoot. However, in an interview with Real Clear Investigations, Babbitt family attorney Terry Roberts said he has gathered evidence indicating the officer, a plainclothes police lieutenant, remained silent. Far from warning Babbitt he would shoot her, Roberts said the officer ambushed her from the side, where she could not see. He had taken up position in a hall doorway and had trained his weapon on her. It's not debatable, said Roberts. There was no warning. A Maryland personal injury lawyer who specializes in police misconduct cases, Robert has won several millions of dollars for victims of police brutality. He said he is preparing to file a wrongful death lawsuit against Capitol Police and the officer, seeking more than $10 million in damages. Babbitt, 35, was fatally wounded as she attempted to crawl through. Yeah, we all know this. Standing to the side of a pile of furniture blocking the doors and out of Babbitt's view, the officer took aim with his Glock service pistol, striking her in the left shoulder. Babbitt fell back from the doorway to the floor. She was transported to Washington Hospital Center, where she died from her injuries. It was a .40 caliber bullet wound. More than 6 months after the shooting, the U.S. Capitol Police still refused to release the name of the officer, but several sources have identified him as Lieutenant Michael L. Byrd, a 53-year-old veteran of the force who was serving as commander of the House Chambers section of the Capitol Police on the 6th. He has not returned to duty and remains on paid administrative leave. Attempts to reach Byrd were unsuccessful. Though Byrd appears to have been cleared of criminal wrongdoing, he may still be subject to a civil action. If Babbitt was not given an opportunity to obey commands before she was shot, it could figure prominently in the family's planned wrongful death suit against the officer. Roberts said he has interviewed several witnesses who were standing outside the speaker's lobby with Babbitt, and that they will testify they did not hear the officer issue any kind of warning. He also said video recordings his investigators have analyzed reveal that other officers who were in the hallway with the officer did not react as expected before he fired. He said they seemed to be caught unaware as he opened fire. Roberts said he had lined up expert witnesses, including ex-cops and use of force experts, who will testify that officers behind him in the speaker's lobby would have taken cover or crouched and pulled their own weapons if they had heard the lieutenant give repeated warnings he was going to shoot. Instead, Roberts said, they appeared to be casually standing or walking around the lobby in the seconds leading up to the shooting. Those other officers were within earshot. If he's yelling, they certainly aren't showing any reaction to it, he said. If he was given any kind of warning, why didn't they react? Roberts added that no warnings can be heard coming from the officer in any videos taken at the scene. Well, there you go. That's why I didn't hear it. The office lawyers, Mark Schemmel, insisted the client issued verbal commands and warnings to Abbott. He was screaming, stay back, don't come in here, Schrammel said. Schrammel said witness statements back him up. He explained the lieutenant's commands were not picked up on video recordings because the footage was shot on the other side of the doors, where dozens of rioters were shouting and banging and drowning out his words. And he said his client could not be seen yelling out the instructions because his mouth was covered by a mask he wore to protect himself against the sniffles. It's not clear if this critical issue was resolved by the investigation of the shooting by the Justice Department, which concluded in April that there is insignificant evidence to support a criminal prosecution of an officer for willfully violating Babbitt's civil rights, though it did not rule out the possibility he acted out of panic or even poor judgment. Justice investigators reportedly did not pursue the murder or manslaughter charges. They cleared him real fast. U.S. Capitol Police Labor Committee Chairman Gus... What the... Slap your mother right in the damn face. Papa Sua said, I was surprised. I'm not sure how he was justified shooting her when there was a SWAT team right behind her, added a veteran Capitol officer, referring to 3 heavily armed USCP officers who had positioned themselves between the doors and the mob. They saw no immediate threat. Only he saw a threat. The officer spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss a sensitive matter. A Capitol Police spokeswoman would not say if the officer's actions were consistent with use of force policies, which are not publicly available. In the statement released earlier this month, however, USCP noted that it is increasing its use of force training. Wow. This is a really long article. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this, put it in the chat. If you guys are interested in looking at this in full, be my guest. There you go. Let me catch up and then we'll move on to another story. That sounds like the Babbitts have a pretty good lawyer. And I wish them the best. And I hope that, well, I blocked the guy. But I hope he has a fun time not trolling anybody after that goes down. I mean, who knows? Nowadays, everything surprises me. Yeah, to send messages to each other. It's when the grid goes down. Pigeons? Yeah. Nah, fuck that. I ain't going pigeons. Been a long day. It was a silly joke. Yeah. So many damn pigeons around here. We could literally set up they're kosher, apparently. So, they're good eating. All right. Texas Governor Abbott orders another special session to pass election integrity laws. As far as I know, the Democrats have not returned. Maybe this was the story. Or not this one, this one. Texas Governor Greg Abbott ordered a third attempt at passing an election integrity bill on Thursday, calling another special legislative session to begin this weekend as Democrats who left the state weeks ago in protest still remain in Washington. Yeah, so they're still not around. Except for 2 of them who took a vacation trip to Portugal. I mean, it was pre-planned, so it's not like they were trying to get out of it even more. The announcement was expected to come as more than 50 Democrats who scrambled to fly out of Texas on July 12th were on the cusp of running out the clock on the current special session and torpedoing the election integrity package for a second time since May. I will continue to call special sessions after special sessions, Abbott said. He ordered the new 30-day special session to begin Saturday and made a new elections package of one of 17 items he instructed the GOP legislator to consider, which includes other items sought by conservative activists, including new border security measures and rules over how race is taught in public schools. The cross-country exodus marked the second time that Democratic lawmakers staged a walkout on the voting overhaul, which they, without evidence, say would make it harder for young people and people of color and people with disabilities to vote. If you read the law, I don't agree with that at all. But like the first effort in May, there remains no clear path for Democrats to permanently block the voting measures or a list of other continuous GOP-backed proposals up for debate. Abbott made the decision to begin a new session immediately as Democrats in Washington have been weighing their next steps. They left Texas under the threat of arrest for breaking quorum in the State House of Representatives and have not committed to when or whether they plan to return home. Some Democrats this week say they have no intention to return to Texas Capitol even after they return from Washington. Well, you're going to get arrested and you're going to go to the Capitol. And if you don't want to return to Texas, well, then I guess you don't want to get reelected, do you? And I'd be all right with that. Send a different Democrat in there to run for your seat. See what happens. You're going to have to come back at some point. A vast majority, enough to break quorum, have committed to each other to not be in the Capitol when the second called session happens. Democratic State Representative Eddie Rodriguez said Wednesday. In choosing, I wonder, are they talking about coming home but not going to the Capitol? I mean, still in Texas, you still could get technically arrested, right? I mean, I think. In choosing to hunker down in Washington, Texas Democrats sought to put pressure on President Joe Biden and Congress to pass new federal voting rights legislations that would not only blunt the impact of the GOP bill back home, but also help solidify, voting for them in the future. Yeah. It's also unconstitutional as all hell. It's up to the states, not the frickin' U.S. government. A group of key Democratic senators, including West Virginia's Joe Manchin, met Wednesday in Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer's office to discuss compromise on the voting legislation. The group has been working for weeks with their counterparts in the U.S. House to develop a narrower approach. But even with a retooled bill, they would still face the same challenge as before: a filibuster by state Senate Republicans who overwhelmingly oppose the measure. Overcoming that hurdle would require changes to the Senate procedural rules, which many modern Democrats oppose, denying the party the votes to change the rule. Well, that's a good thing. For now. That seems like it's being held on by a thread. That constitutional right for the states to decide how their elections are being held is holding on by a thread because there's a few moderate Democrats who are like, no, we're not getting rid of the filibuster because they can actually see that could come back to bite them later on. And so, I mean, crazy. Lindsey Graham. I kind of love Lindsey Graham, man. Lindsey Graham's a weirdo. I like him and I hate him at the same time. He's more likable than McCain, but he liked McCain so much and they were such best friends that I know he's not good, right? But at the same time, when he stood up and he's like, boy, I tell you what, you guys want power so damn bad, I hope you never get it. And I just had to go like, yeah, you tell him, Graham. Howdy doody looking motherfucker. All right. Sniffle-stricken Lindsey Graham tells Trump to push his supporters on the jabs. So all you Trump supporters out there, make sure you get your sniffle shot. As he recovers from an increasingly common breakthrough infection of the sniffles, Senator Lindsey Graham said Thursday that he has urged former President Trump to press his supporters to get the sniffle shot, which the South Carolina Republican called, without evidence, the antidote to the sniffles that is wreaking havoc on our hospitals. I have urged him to be aggressive and say, take the sniffle shot, Graham said in an extensive interview with the Associated Press, his first since disclosing this week that he had been tested positive for the sniffles months after getting the shot. This is hilarious because if Lindsey Graham remembers, and I'm sure all of you remember, Trump did say to take it. Trump said to take it. It was everybody else who was saying not to take it. What the hell is calling me now? Hold on. Sorry about that. On Monday, Graham said he had tested positive days after gathering with a handful of Senate colleagues on Senator Joe Manchin's houseboat. The same night, Saturday, Graham said he had been experiencing flu-like symptoms. That same night, so he didn't get it from that. He basically gave it to everybody on the boat, saying that he felt achy and kind of yucky throughout the weekend. Graham said Thursday that his symptoms had been steadily improving, although Monday and Tuesday were pretty tough days. He said he believed again, without evidence, that his symptoms would have been much worse if he hadn't gotten the shot. It went from sort of a mild sinus infection until just a full-blown feeling like crap, Graham told the AP. Survival rates for the sniffles are well above 98% and even higher for the media-hyped Delta variant. However, if you don't get it, we're going to make a mandate that you have to. Another Guns Coast to Coast video was talking about the sniffle shot and how somebody got busted with a fake passport. I need better friends. Like, I need to get me a fake passport, but a better one than the guy that got busted for it did. But, you know, I've talked about this whole mark of the beast thing, and I still don't think it's the mark of the beast. But I'll tell you what, it's a stepping stone. It's a slippery slope. It's a gateway, if you will. My whole life growing up, I grew up in the Seventh-day Adventist Church, right? I was preached to about the Antichrist. I was preached to about the mark of the beast and in Revelations, right? We did a Revelation seminar at least twice a year. So I know about the mark of the beast, or the biblical part of it, right? It has to be in your hand or your forehead. If it's in your head, you're supposed to believe in it and you want it. If it's in your hand, you do it for convenience. Either way, if you have the mark of the beast, you're going to hell, right? Just because you believe in it versus you got it just to get along. And I was like, there ain't no way. Not in my America. Nobody's going to do that. It's right there. It's written in the book. Everybody knows about the mark of the beast. Shit, people aren't even religious know about the mark of the beast. There ain't no way this shit ever going to fly in America. Not here. And then I see this. And I see New York saying that if you don't have your certification of vaccination, ooh, I like the rhyming on that, that you're not going to be allowed to do business. You're not going to be able to go into restaurants. You're not going to be able to go here. You're not going to be able to go there. We're going to make your life a living fucking hell. And I'm like, wow. It actually could happen. Whether this is it or whether it is something later on, I believe that anybody that got it because they believed in it, or the people that got it because they didn't want to change their job, if you fail this test, you will not pass the actual mark of the beast. In the Bible, it says Jesus will come like a thief in the night, right? No man knows the hour or the time. What makes you think they're going to call it, hey, everybody, line up, get your mark of the beast. Mark of the beast, right here. Get your mark of the beast. I have no idea if this is that or not. But it sure does sound a lot like the biblical preaching of it. Graham declined to talk about the Manchin event on Thursday, except to say that everybody there had gotten the shot. Graham received his shots in December. Graham is a longtime ally of Trump who received the sniffle shot earlier this year. This week, former Health and Human Service Secretary Alex Azar wrote an op-ed for the New York Times that he wished that Trump had gotten the shot publicly so that his supporters could see how much trust and confidence he has in the sniffle shots. Well, I mean, he's the reason that we have them, and he talked good about them when he was in the presidency. In March, Trump said on Fox News that he would recommend the sniffle shot to a lot of people that don't want to get it, and a lot of those people who voted for me. But last month at a rally in Phoenix, Trump told supporters that he felt some people were not taking the sniffles shot because they don't trust President Joe Biden, and stressed people's freedoms 100% to do what they feel best. Yeah, I guess. I mean, they did it to him when he was in office and I'm going to have the sniffle shot before the election. Well, everybody and their brother says, I ain't taking that. If Trump says it's okay, I ain't taking it. All the people in power said that shit. Even Biden said that. And now it's him saying it because, he's not in power. On Thursday, Graham said he had just gotten off the phone with Trump, who had been checking on him every day during his illness. Oh, aren't they besties? He applauded Trump's work to develop a sniffle shot and said he saw sniffle shots as a mandatory for the country to regain its footing. Lindsey Graham wants to have a nationalized sniffle shot. He is very proud of that accomplishment, Graham said. From a conservative person's point of view, we should do all we can as a nation to get our economy back up and running to protect our way of life. Yeah, celebrate your freedom. Recognizing that taking the sniffle shot might be a sacrifice for some, Graham said the task paled in comparison with others that have been required of Americans in the past. No one's being asked to go off to fight radical Islam or fight a foreign enemy. We're being asked to make responsible medical decisions, Graham said. Take the damn sniffle shot. Wow. The Dems don't want anything to do with the sniffle shot until Biden became president. Well, they did a complete 180 and were suddenly all about it. Bioweapon, why you not has tattoo? I have a tattoo. I have a tattoo. He's unscannable. Who doesn't have a tattoo? Trump? Maybe. Oh. Well, that part I don't think he was. Revelations 13:16, it also forced all people, great and small, rich and poor, free and slave, to receive a mark on their right hand or on their foreheads. It's not here yet, but it's not out of... And as I said, I'm not saying this is it, right? I'm not saying the sniffles is the mark, but it's setting it up. If nothing else, look how vicious people are against you if they hear that you don't have the sniffle shot. Jennifer Aniston has said that she has cut people out of her life for not getting the sniffle shot. Not to mention, maybe, with all this counterfeiting, they're going to have, well, it's got to be an RFID, got to be an RFID. 17, so that they could not buy or sell unless they had the mark, which is the name of the beast or the number of its name. Yep. They will put a microchip in one of the booster shots. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a fan. There are a lot of interesting medical journal reads about some of the bio-nanotechnology advances that have been made. Yeah, the little robot things, like in, if you've ever watched Next Generation, I believe, the little nanonites or whatever that the Borg use or whatever, it's kind of the same thing. Reference to Idiocracy. Ah, fucking love Idiocracy. That's not it. Oh, where is that? Is it going? Huh. My Brondo's not working. That's sad. I'm gonna have to fix that. Barcodes on the wrist. I don't know. I have no idea if it's gonna be a barcode, if it's just gonna be a scar, or if it's gonna be something else like a chip. I have no idea. Don't pretend to know. All I know is if you take out the actual mark, you just take everything that comes with it, and you take the whole getting it because you believe in it in your head, and getting it in your hand because you just want to get along, that part resignates, right? That part is exactly like it. That mark that they talk about, that doesn't say that we can see it also. It might be an invisible mark to us for all we know. But I don't know. They use these nanochips to control mRNA as well as communicate outside the body. Okay, Riddle's going off. I can hear her typing furiously in the background. Thousands of wealthy elites renouncing their U.S. citizenship to avoid Biden's tax lockdown. President Biden plans to soak the rich in order to fund trillions of new welfare entitlements will not be brought fully before Congress until later this month, when Democrats hope to slip a massive human infrastructure scheme through the Senate using budget reconciliation. But the rich themselves have wasted no time securing their assets by renouncing their U.S. citizenship, according to Axios, which drew its data from a quarterly list published by the IRS. A chart of exparate Americans worth over $2 million showed that their numbers skyrocketed in 2020 to 6,707, a 237% increase to the prior year. Both State Department and legal experts warn that renouncing citizenship for the wrong reasons could result in unintended consequences, such as loss of sovereign protections. We usually advise against it, immigration lawyer Eshkian, whatever her name is, told Axios. The bulk of cases are individuals trying to avoid tax liability. However, the growing expiration trend is one of several to signal that America's decline and the increase of corporate globalism are in fact taking a sharp toll on the rights and protections traditionally afforded to American citizens. Something's coming. I'll tell you, the currency is not going to hold on forever either. Not when you're printing that kind of money. The recent expats are likely included a litany of virtue signaling leftists who ordinarily would be quick to espouse rhetoric about the need for more government and higher taxes to fund it. Among those fleeing the system is former Google CEO Eric Schmidt, who was reported less than a week after the November 3rd election to be seeking a fast-track citizenship to Cyprus. The previous peak, according to the IRS list, was in 2016. Roughly 5,500 citizenship renunciations occurred then. Well, let's hope that was because Trump. If Trump gets elected, I'm out of here. Well, I hope that was the 15 or the 5,500. Yeah, presumably fled following the election of Donald Trump. Former pop singer Cher famously promised to move to Jupiter, although she does not appear to have made good on it, based on a planned Las Vegas residency. But while celebrities and leftist media may wish to amplify the narrative that Trump drove wealthy cosmopolitan citizens away, the numbers tell a different story, one that leftist oligarchs would rather the public not see. During the second term of former President Obama, there was a steady uptick in exportation among the uber wealthy, and during the Trump administration, there was an equally steady decline leading up to 2020. The logical implication, thus, is that many of those who fled last year may have done so as the result of Democrats seizing power with promises of burdensome tax hikes, including raising the top capital gains tax to 43.4%. 43.4% tax? That's fucking theft. Ugh. Whatever mark it is, it will prevent you from buying and selling if you don't have it. If they mandate this sniffle shot or something else and say that you can't buy anything with it or sell with it, yeah, you'll see a lot of people getting it. If you're not allowed to go to the grocery store without that mark, you're going to get that mark most likely. If you really don't want to get that mark, if you really, really don't want to get that mark, you better start planning on ways around that. And even then, you better trust in the Lord because they ain't going to make that shit easy. It's not an easy path. Isn't there a parable about the crappy road and the 4-lane highway? It is not an easy road to hoe. What's up, Irish? They're giving yellow bracelets to UN-shotted healthcare workers, and teachers and students get yellowed IDs in some states. Hella Joe. Joe in the hoe. Irish, I don't know how you're doing on your whole sniffle certification stuff, but let me know. I'm going to text you after I'm done here tonight, so hopefully you're available. But y'all need to have plans. I know that, and even then, good luck to every one of you. Quantum Lotus, one of the articles that I read about it, it's like this: humans are biological computers. Humans can be hacked. Ooh. So, are you talking like hypnosis? Interesting that they picked yellow. Yep, history doomed to repeat itself. It's gonna be a Star of David. Well, all right, I think I'm done with that one. Let's get on to some of these. These are the riddle ones. Woman in San Francisco leans out a car window brandishing an AK-47. It was a pistol AK. Let me see if the video is of that.
A woman in San Francisco leaned out of a car holding an AK-47 during an illegal racing event last month, according to the city's police department on Twitter Wednesday.
How do you know it was illegal?
The photo
It could've had
released
a
by
10
police
round
shows the
magazine.
woman, whose name has not been released, leaning out of a Cadillac window brandishing an AK-47. Police said that the photo was taken on July 11th and that they have since seized the vehicle.
They seized the vehicle.
So, JD, the infrastructure package.
They didn't say they seized the weapon, did they? A woman in San Francisco leaned out of the car holding an AK-47 pistol during an illegal drag racing event last month. City's police department announced on Twitter on Wednesday. You gotta love it. They're announcing shit on Twitter. The photo released by the police shows the woman, whose name has not been released, leaning out of a Cadillac window, brandishing an AK-47. Police say the photo was taken July 11th, and they have since seized the vehicle. Yeah, okay. The incident comes amid a rise in violent crime in San Francisco this year. I thought was a peace, love, and harmony place. I mean, they get you free everything. Why are you bitching? Why are you complaining? We're almost double where. Hold up. The incident comes amid a rise in violent crime in San Francisco this year. We're almost double where we were in the last 2 years, and that is a huge concern. Police Chief Bill Scott said. So they seized the car. They didn't say they know who the woman is, and they don't have the weapon. All right. And this is another thing. She has the AK-47. Right? Let me look at it. That is the pistol version. If you notice, it doesn't have the arm brace on it because when you're doing gangsta shit, you don't need that arm brace. That's why a lot of hoods or whatever you want to call them like the AK pistols, because there's no buffer tube to get in the way. It's easier to just go pop, pop, pop. Anyway. Oh, this is going to be a difficult one. Okay, we can do it. Yeah, that's what I've been saying. You know, they erase, rewrite, and downright lie about historical facts and then somehow convince the masses. Look up Karen Kingston and Dr. Andrew Kaufman. Today was a good day when I didn't have to use my AK. Ooh, that's a nice shirt. I'm going to make sure I wish I know. I just find it funny the CIA or the CA has all these gun laws, California, and blah, 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 blah. There she is with a non-CA compliant firearm. You mean the law didn't prevent her from getting that? No, she just came over to Arizona. That's why. You know, people that break the laws don't care. Well, here's the question. Why is that not California legal? Can you not have a pistol AK in California? And I'm pretty sure I don't know if I've actually seen one. I'm pretty sure I thought I did. Chopper from my caddy. All right. So you came with your guns. You arrested me. Man living in Wood for 27 years, jailed for squatting. So this is the guy right here. This guy was living free. And when you live free, sometimes you're going to have to pay the consequences. But let's read a little bit about him. Unfortunately, I don't know because I don't have ad blockers or whatever. I mean, I'm using an ad blocker. I have to do this. A New Hampshire man faces eviction for illegally living in the woods on private property for almost 3 decades, the Associated Press reported. David Lindstone, 81, was arrested June 15th for illegally squatting on private property in the New Hampshire woods along the Merrimack River, where he has lived in a cabin for 27 years, according to Associated Press. You came with your guns. You arrested me, brought me in here. You got all my possessions. You keep them, Lindstone told the judge during the hearing Wednesday, according to AP. I'll sit here with your uniform on until I rot, sir, he added. Lindstone, also known as Riverdale by locals, has lived on private Canterbury property in a cabin with solar panels for 27 years, the AP reported. He grew his own food, raised chickens and cats, and cut his own firewood. Yeah, he was living free. who grew up in Wilton, Maine, has resisted. Oh, you grew up near you, Gerald. I think it's near you. Maine's not that big. He grew up in Wilton, Maine, has resisted efforts to leave his cabin he had lived in for 27 years since the judge issued an order for him to vacate in 2017. That cabin is nice. Look at this shit. Dude. He's living in style, bro. He's got a deck. Riddle, this is what we need to do right here. I need to build something like that. He's a happy motherfucker. All right. Riverdale claimed Leonard Giles, the owner of the property, who intends to tear down the cabin, gave him his word to live there, but there is nothing formal in writing. Always get it in writing. Giles said he had no idea Lidstone was living there until town administrators found him in 2015. The administrators told Giles the cabin causes concern with regard to the solid and septic waste disposal, which I'm sure he does something good with, like gardening or some shit, and the potential zoning violations created by the structure. The AP quoted from Giles' 2016 complaint. Merrimack County Superior Court Judge Andrew Schulman didn't believe Lidstone caused any harm, but acknowledged that the law was on Giles' side, according to the AP. You're doing your own thing in the live free or die state. Yeah. So there's a lot of sympathy to you for that, the judge told Lidstone, but there's a lot of weight on the other side of the balance sheet. And it's not just about what the landowner wants to do with the land, but the weight I feel to uphold the judgment to the court and the rule of law. Let the man live. He's 81. They couldn't let him live out his life there. I know, right? He's 81 years old, bro. 81. Now, if you had caught him when he originally did it, that might have been a little bit different of a story because he hadn't been living there for so long. And reportedly, he might have gotten his word on it. Back when he would have gotten that word, your word actually meant more than it does now. At least it did in my experience. I don't trust nobody's word anymore. Just because I've had the closest person possible to me give me their word and then totally screw me over and like never intended to keep that word in the first place. A quick reminder that mandating sniffle shots is totally constitutional. Did you not know that? No, the Bills of Rights do not block sniffle mandates. Neither does HIPAA. Just ask 3 Republican judges who ruled that in Indiana University can require students to get the shot. Anti-vaxxers and anti-mask people are loud and wrong all the time. It's a devastating combination. They've got an entire white wing media ecosphere. Ooh, Riddle got us a good one. That amplifies their wrong ideas. They have social media algorithms that elevate their ignorance. No, I haven't been elevated on this fucking platform in a long time. And misinformation, such that even calling them out boosts their uninformed or willful false takes. Moreover, their sheer breadth of things that are wrong about is dizzying. The sniffle shot has been blamed for everything from causing the new sniffle variants. It doesn't to grant people the power to control metal, like Magneto. I haven't heard that one. The lies mutate and then evolve even faster than SARS-CoV-2, making it hard to keep up with whatever ignorance is being promoted. And functionally impossible to combat the misinformation in real time. Oh, damn that free speech. But there is one particularly bad take that gets repeated by everyone from Republican members of Congress to some guy from high school you haven't yet blocked on Facebook. That's me, everybody! Because I don't go on Facebook a lot. So when I do, I'm going to surprise you like a ninja. Ooh, Stinger's on Facebook. Watch out. That it is unconstitutional for the public or even private institutions and businesses to mandate that people get the sniffle shot or wear masks before entering establishments. To back these claims, the Anti-Sniffle Shot Brigade has cited everything from HIPAA, the Medical Privacy Act, to the Bill of Rights. as if it was declaiming ignorance will give them street cred in the ICU. People who think they can't be required to get the shot before say going to school or flying on a plane are flatly wrong. But there is just enough nuisance here to create a gray area that bad faith actors exploit on social media. Most people, at least the ones who aren't watching Fox News or Newsmax, can understand that private businesses can require sniffle shots or mask mandates usage as they please. Private businesses are allowed to set health and safety regulations before allowing entry or delivery of services. Businesses should just update their signs to read no shirts, no shoes, no masks, no service, and be done with it. The private sector has the authority, if not the will, to mandate sniffle shots. Government institutions like public schools or universities are more limited in what they can require in the name of public health, but they're not powerless. The government has more authority to require sniffle shots than Twitter lawyers think. It would be unconstitutional for the government to hold people down and force them to get the shot. That derives from the right to privacy, ironically, a right that most of the people screaming about their freedoms don't extend to women who have become pregnant. They're deflecting this point over to pro-life movement. Oh, that you ain't got no point if you're now going over there. It would be unconstitutional for the government to hold people down and force them to get the shot. That derives from the right to privacy, ironically, a right that most people screaming about their freedoms don't extend to women who become pregnant. The government is not going to send out goon squads to inject things into people's bodies. It was just 3 weeks to flatten the curve. It would also likely be unconstitutional for the government to require the shots before people could access some fundamental right. People couldn't be required to show proof of the shot before, say voting in an election or being allowed to speak to a lawyer after an arrest. The current conservative Supreme Court has also made it pretty clear that it doesn't think people can be required to engage in minimal public safety measures to go to church. Yeah, you're right, I don't. But absence of those very few fundamental rights, the government, just a little bit more of those rights. Just a little bit more, okay? In order to celebrate your freedom on the 4th of July, we got to get everybody got to get this shot. And then you guys can celebrate your freedom on the 4th. Do you remember hearing that shit? But absent of those few fundamental rights, the government, public-private entities, and of course, strictly private businesses are free to impose all sorts of societal beneficial restrictions, including basic public health and safety measures. Before people access institutions or avail themselves of services, airlines can deny passengers passage to people who won't show proper identification. Restaurants can deny business to those who refuse to wear shirts or shoes or both, not pants. And public schools can send home students who become ill during the day. The power of these institutions to impose those restrictions is the same power they can use to impose the sniffle shot or mask requirements. Public schools are particularly inflection point for sniffle requirements because we know that they have historically been a great way to pressure the general public to get the shot. Homeschool your kids. Against measles, mumps, tinnitus, all these things. All kind of nasty yet preventable diseases. Yet there are parents who have strong preference for subjecting their children to the political agenda and leaving them exposed to the sniffles, and so we fight. Still, rest assured, institutions of public education can demand that their students have the shot against the sniffles, and that they can demand that students who are unable to have the shot wear a mask. Don't take my word for it, though. Listen to this 3-judge panel of Republican-appointed judges, including 2 Trump judges, on the Court of Appeals for the 7th Circuit that just unequivocally said the same thing. Wow. And then we have this big old case file. I don't know, guys. As I said, I go back and forth with abortion. I do think that, like, if it's gonna kill the mother or if it was like incest or rape, my opinion on that is I'm willing to have that conversation. But in order to have that conversation, can we at least do a guideline on when when life begins? Because there's too much confusion, man. And I've said this a million times, but like with the age of being an adult, what age is it? Is it when you're 18 and you can, well, you used to be able to smoke? What can you do now at 18? Sign up to go to the military? You're 18, you're supposed to be an adult. Oh, but you can't do adult things until you're 21. Oh, but you did a bad thing when you were 16 and got tried as an adult. What? We can't nail anything down. Let's nail these things down. This would be like if I ever did run for office, this would be what my platform would be on. I am here to not pass anything else until I figure out what age an adult is and when life actually begins. These are the questions that we need to finally come to an answer to in this country, and then we can decide if we're pro it or against it, in my opinion. Let's see. I read the first couple of paragraphs and decided at that moment that I had to send it to you. Well, I had a good time with that article, Riddle. It was fun. I like reading the other side because that person was triggered as fuck. And I really liked it how they brought it around to the abortion issue, the whole privacy. Irish, I believe, briefly looked at that here in Arizona for what is commonly referred to as squatters' rights. Here in Arizona, you have to live in and maintain as well as pay the taxes on the abandoned property for 2 years. Well, that's an old saying, our bodies, our choice. Now, don't it? It is. I like it how we're kind of using that now, or some people are anyway. If no one opposes you being there, you can file for the writ and get the deed, but every state's different. You're still not off grid because they still know who you are. I think, I forget who exactly said it, but I had already talked to Riddle about it, about the best way of being free right now is living in the RV. Yeah, living in the RV and going to different areas where you can free camp and set up your little homestead right there. Maybe even have some quick growing crops, for like small stuff. Don't put too much investment in it unless, keep adding to it every year or whatever. But if you get kicked out, you got to know that that's a possibility that you're not going to have that. Walk into some place with a shirt, mask, shoes, without pants, and say it's your rule. I've made that joke my whole life. As a kid, I would see those signs: no shoes, no shirt, no shoes, no service, and I would think, well, at least I don't have to wear pants. And I always thought about dropping my drawers right there in the store, but I usually freeballed it back in the day, so I didn't really want to show my jiggly bits. And I really didn't want to get in trouble. But at the same time, it always did strike me funny that they leave out pants. All right. Well, that's all I got for you guys. Thank you very much for being here. It was a long one. So sorry about the length of it, but I think it was some pretty good stories, especially the whole DOJ now investigating the Phoenix Police Department. Retaliation? Or not. I don't understand why the DOJ would come out to a press conference and announce that they're going after the Phoenix Police Department civil rights investigation into them. And I live here, and I haven't heard much about that. It's not on the news. I mean, before today, it hasn't been on the news that the police department around here are doing anything shady. This, to me, smells like a retaliation, 100%. Anyway, that's all I got for you. Make sure to check out the descriptions below. We got all the links to the causes I believe in and support. We have the Pulmonary Hypertension Association, PH Association. That's the disease that I currently live with. It's going to kill me. They're looking for a cure. It's a rare, very, very rare disease. So there's not a lot of groups out there trying to find a cure. This is one of them. So this is the one that I support. We have the Project Recover, an organization that goes out and looks for lost service members and returns their remains to their families. We have the Gun Owners of America, who are fighting like hell in court for your gun rights. I am a member of them. And then we have Rally Point Irish, which is a GoFundMe that my good friend Irish USMC vet set up. And he is trying to raise money to get a place in Tennessee where vets can stay and live room and board free while learning new skills like farming, blacksmithing, and gunsmithing. Now, I do like that one a lot, so I have dedicated 50% of anything this channel makes to that goal. And he's got a long way to go. A long way to go. And I used to be able to give him a little bit more, and I hope that he starts bringing stuff in. He's still talking about getting the morning muster up and running next week. If that's the case, man, I look forward to that as all hell. But definitely hope that he gets that up and running. Now, we are demonetized, so I don't get to give him that 50% of that. But if you want to make a donation to this channel, 50% of anything donated to this channel goes directly to Project Rally Point Irish. Sorry, Rally Point Irish. So just know that if you're going to make a donation here to me. If you do, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And if you want, you can give it all to Rally Point Irish. I'd be all right with that as well. Next is all the places that you can follow me. So we have all the causes, all the ways to donate, and all the places to follow. I have a secondary YouTube channel you should check out and subscribe to, because if you don't see me on here, and I didn't tweet about it, and I didn't Discord it, then we probably got a strike. Although I would have tweeted it. So, I mean, if you don't look on Twitter, and if you're not on, follow me on all my socials. I got Twitter, I got DLive, I got Discord, Gab, and Rumble, which I don't use Gab or Rumble. But those are all the places to follow me. So if you like this kind of content, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, tell all your friends, subscribe, ring bells, you know, all the fun stuff. You got a link for me, Irish? Hold right. I'm clicking it. What's this gonna bring me up to? Taking a while. Do you want to take charge of your own health? If so, you came to the right place. Stay up to date with all that is happening. Join my newsletter. I have no idea about this dude. But you can tell me about it later. All right, I will see everybody later. Until I do, I'll see you tomorrow. Make sure to keep that family close. Watch out for that government. Try to live as free as you can in the tyrannical world that we find ourselves living in. Be more like that one guy, man. What was his name again? Riverdale. Be more like Riverdale. Riverdale's a cool dude. I would love to see an interview with Riverdale. Peace.